You can come up real quick, and we're going to talk a little bit, and then Monica, you can catch your breath.
Yeah.
And it's scary, isn't it? Don't worry, it gets worse.
And we've all been there, so we know exactly how you're feeling. And this is a real love time. This is your new family. It really is, yeah.
That's right, Mom.
And then after Monica, we'll sing the Old Rugged Cross.
Thank you. So Blake, tell us what baptism is very quickly so people understand.
So baptism is the first step in our faith. The moment that we believe, we're called to be baptized. And it's an outward sign of what's gone on in our hearts. So it's a washing. It's a sign that we've went from one life to a new life.
So can you be saved and not be baptized?
Yes, in Scripture we see people like the thief on the cross who they had no chance to be baptized, but they went through that process of having faith. All the thief asked Jesus was, "Lord, will you remember me when you come into your kingdom?" And Jesus said, "Today I tell you, you will be with me in paradise." So baptism is merely a sign of the faith that's already entered somebody's heart. And faith is what saves. But we are commanded, if we're able to be baptized as a sign of our faith.
So I will say that a simple way to say it is it has to happen in your heart, or it's just getting wet. It has to happen in your heart. And we have spent time with Shannon and Monica, which is something our church does, to see, has this happened in their heart? Or why are they getting baptized? And we have come to a very strong conclusion that this has happened in their heart. And what has happened? They are dying to themselves. So they go under the water. They are saying, I'm no longer going to be in control. I'm done trying to be God myself. And I am now dying to myself. And I am being born again. When I come out of that water, I'm becoming a new creation. And He's in charge. Now, Blake, does that mean you're never going to have a mistake again?
No, this is just the start of the journey. And, we're going to live our whole lives, struggling to live up to the faith that God has placed in us. But this is a first step. This is an important step. It's a testimony to all of the people that are important to us in the whole world that I'm on Jesus' side.
I'm all in. I'm stepping over the line. I'm doing it publicly. It's very similar to a marriage. I'm all in. I'm forsaking all others. And you are doing it in front of witnesses. But mainly, this is a vow to God. This is really something that's happening between Shannon and Monica and God. And that's like a marriage, right? It's between you and your wife and God. But we are witnessing it. Why? Because we're celebrating with them, but we're also holding them accountable. And we're saying, we're with you. And when you have trouble, we're the ones you can run to. And we are not going to give up on you. And you're not going to give up on us, because you're the ones we're going to run to when we have trouble. That's a church. We are misfits. We are a mess. We are people that struggle. All of us. But we need each other. We can use one more hypocrite. And we are so happy, and I hope Monica is going to, I just want to say she's going to treatment. She's determined to go to treatment. She has been there before. She will tell you some of her story. So it's not her first rodeo. She is detoxed in my kitchen floor with Jordan. And that is not easy. And that's, a lot of people go, well, how come she's, we haven't met her? Well, she had to do what she had to do. And I already told you the miracle of having Shannon and James across the back alley, from my house, who met Jesus, a month earlier. And it was just amazing what God did. So we won't talk a lot more. I'm just giving you time to get your breath. I will say that it doesn't make you any more special than anybody else if you get baptized. No. Your salvation, the baptism happens in your heart. So the public metaphor is very powerful, but it is a commandment.
Yeah.
And it's a commandment because it really makes a difference in your own mind and your own heart that I have taken this step publicly. And it also affects all of us because we see it, we go, And ultimately, every time we've done baptisms, somebody else comes up and says, I want to get baptized. And so you guys should know that. If you want to get baptized, you can talk to Blake or me or Sandy or Bob. And yeah, we will baptize you. But we want it to be real between you and God. That's a vow that you're making. So there's two things that me and Blake will do, because Blake's going to baptize one and I'm going to baptize one, because we want to make it clear. It doesn't matter who's baptizing. That's besides the point. You know, I have somebody that has asked for Brian and Leanne, and I think that's wonderful. That's great. Brian, you better get ready. You're going to get wet. but there's two things, and this is what the vows are. Have you accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? And that word Lord means king. It means commander. It means God. Have you accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior? So the long and the short of it is, thank you, Shane. He usually doesn't dig in people's purses, but he's going to right now. And you have to say yes publicly. Okay, and the second thing we say is, do you vow that you will do your best to deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow him every day? Now, doing your best is what we ask for. Barb says striving. I agree. Are we making a decision every day that I am going to follow him? So I see this option, and then I see Jesus's option. I'm going with Jesus's option. That is for your own good. That's what brings peace and love and joy if you go his way. It's just the way it is. You know, Darcy just told me her puppy put his nose on an electric fence. You know, that's what happens when we go the wrong way. That's what happens. And so there is a commandment that dog has. Don't put your nose on the fence. That's not because Darcy's trying to be mean or keep the dog from having fun. It's because that dog's going to get hurt. And in her case, her dog did what a lot of humans do. He put his nose on the fence, then he panicked, and he ran right into the fence. And that's a lot of humans do that too, right? So these commandments are for us. But they aren't a set of rules that you have to measure up to, or he doesn't love you.
Yeah.
He loves you, period. Darcy loves that dog, period, right?
He loves you completely all the time.
The way you are.
It's just you that doesn't accept
There is a verse that says that even before, you know, he died for you before you even thought of him.
Yeah.
He loves you before you were even conceived. And so don't mix that up. These aren't rules that we follow so that you can get to heaven. You get to heaven because he loves you and you believe in him, and that's it. Baptism is important, but it does not make you any more special than anybody, but it is, I like to say it's a difference between being shacked up and married. You know, it is a big deal. Anything to add, Blake?
I think we got the essentials there. So
Monica, I'm with you. Blake's with you. I know you're brave, so come on up and speak nice and loud for us.
I'm Monica. Just new to Westlock, about a month now. Oh wow, I'm not good at this stuff.
That's okay.
Oh wow, I've walked this life quite alone the past few years. It hasn't been easy. I about 5 years ago was in a really bad accident, and I was stuck in a vehicle on fire. And I remember thinking to myself, this is it, I'm gonna burn alive. Nobody's around. And I started screaming and freaking out. I couldn't see anything, and I was terrified. I had woken up that way. I won't go into details exactly. Anyways, I found myself a few days later waking up in the hospital and alive. That was one of the times that I felt for sure that somebody was there. Somebody needed me to stay here. Not sure why, but that woke me up for sure. That was the first time, and just lately, I ended up here in Westlock, kind of a freak accident per se. Somebody brought me out here, and they wanted to do some pretty horrid things, but I walked out and I just started walking, and I ended up in Clyde. And I was wondering, what am I going to do with myself here? I'm sick of my life. I've been trying to get into detox in Edmonton for the last 2 weeks, and every day they keep sending me away. Come back tomorrow, and I felt really negative towards the feeling. I didn't think I was going to get in, right? So I'm sitting in Clyde now, wondering, where do I go? I grew up in Athabasca, but my family had moved, and there was nothing there for me anymore. I had left there due to relationship problems, and so I'd left for the city, and this time it was just getting worse and worse for me, and my sobriety wasn't being kept up well. Not knowing people in the city was hard enough. I couldn't find anywhere to stay, and the shelters are much worse than being on the street. So I ended up just walking every day, trying to keep myself safe and alive. I have a 20-year-old son who just graduated. And he needs me, so I'm very proud, and I ended up standing at that gas station for a few hours there until I went to the guy at the station and said, "Can you call me a cab, please, back to Westlock?" As Victim Services had provided me with a place, but I was a little bit nervous to come back here due to what had happened to me the night before. But then a guy came in his vehicle, and I was like, no, not asking him. Not asking him for that ride, because the taxi services were not working here at the time. He comes out, "Do you need a ride to Westlock?" I said, "Well, yeah." And that was Carson. So...
Oh, that was scary.
Yeah. So I said, sure, yeah, let's do this. So I get in, and he's, "So what's up? What's going on with you?" And I let him briefly know, I'm having some hard times, and I'm stuck out here at the moment, and not sure which way I want to go, as I am an addict, and I'm hurting pretty bad at this time. I've missed my methadone, and now I'm panicking. And so I'm thinking, he's just an everyday, maybe he'll help me out, Then he says, "Well, I'm a pastor. I'm going to my church." I was like, bam. I ain't getting no help. So he says, "I have a mental health meeting going on with another colleague of mine, and I'd like for you to come see." And I said, "Sure, why not?" I've got nothing to lose right now. I need this. I know I do, and I've always been open about my mental health. It's been pretty rough, but I know talking about it has always made it a lot easier to get through life with. And anyways, these two big things that have happened to me have really shown me that God is with me. I've not always been a believer until I started. Well, my first was my accident there with the fire, and knowing that I need to be here not only for my son but for a reason. And yeah, I know God is the one I need to be with, and I'd like to be his walking his disciple for sure.
Yes.
And there's no doubt about it. Yeah, that's pretty much, I don't know, me.
You did really well.
Yeah, we're proud of you, Monica. And you know, I gave her one of our Bibles here. We got to order some more Bibles because I had to give her, you know, one of the youth Bibles. We need to order some more Bibles. But you know, you can get your apps and stuff, but there's still something about having that book. And every day I come in and she's reading that book. And I didn't preach at you much, which is odd for me. And then one day, I can't remember how it happened, but she says, you know, she wants to get baptized. And it was about that same day that Shannon goes, you know, I want to get baptized too. And it's just wonderful. And I will put out something. Monica has made 2 huge lasagnas at my request, because she made lasagna at the house, and I'm like, oh, you got skills, you know. You know. And so she made 2 huge lasagnas and 2 cheesecakes, which, you know, you're gonna have to cut like a small little sliver so everybody can have a piece. But yeah, so we really appreciate that. And Shannon, you've got skills too. She brought me over a cheesecake. She's been bringing it. Shannon is absolutely amazing. And James, I just got to say, you guys are already lifelong friends. You know, you live right across the back alley from me. I never met you before, you know, so that's amazing. And tell me, do you want to sing a song and then bring Shannon up? Sure. You come on up. Oh, you'll get ready.
When I went through and picked these hymns, they're just for you two, honestly. They just speak from the heart. So I chose these ones. You're gonna get up now for Shannon?
Yeah, so, Shannon, you're brave, right? You've been in living behind me for quite a while. I never knew Shannon at all. I think you were there about a year.
We've been there 2 years.
2 years. And I never knew my neighbor. But I did pray for that house. I prayed for you. And a lot of the reason was because your husband, James, has a big beard. And I went, wow, I bet you that guy would be a friend, you know? And I usually don't trust anybody, Adrian, with hair on their face, but and then I was in the winter and I got stuck on the ice, and I was going, oh man, I was rocking back and forth trying, because I had to be at the church. And this big bearded guy comes out of nowhere and, you know, doesn't say a word. He just pushes me out, kind of goes like this, and I go, I just went, are you an angel? You know, and that's the only contact I had with you guys until about 2 months ago. I'm backing out of my parking lot, and this crazy woman is going like this, and I thought, well, did I almost hit her? I rolled down my window. I said, I'm sorry. And, you know, and she goes, no. She goes, something happened to my husband. Something happened to my husband. And he's happy now, and I'm happier, and I'll let you explain the rest. And it is just well, and like I said, you were there for Monica, you were there for Jordan, way more than me, which was amazing because you were the right people, and it's amazing. You know, these guys are like the woman at the well. Right? They didn't go to Bible school. They didn't go to church even. They just kind of dropped their jugs and ran into the village and went, hey, I met Jesus. You know, and it's amazing. You know, it's so awesome to see that. So, and Shannon has skills too. She keeps bringing food over and cheesecakes, and I owe you a couple steaks. I had a very despondent guy that stole the steaks from his cheating girlfriend and sold them to me at at pennies on the dollar. So I got a freezer full of $45 T-bones, and I'm like, wow, Lord, thank you. I'm sorry about that, but thank you. But anyway, Shannon, come on up and speak nice and loud and be brave. Don't worry, we don't mock you usually.
I know that. Okay, is this good enough?
Yes.
I have a fear of public speaking, so bear with me.
You have a fear of public speaking.
Good. I don't think I'd be able to stand here without the mental health group. I go to that every Wednesday with Blake. And before that, I don't think I could have stood up here and talked about myself, because I just can't talk about myself. It's hard for me. But anyway, so I'm Shannon. If you haven't met me, I was born in Newfoundland, and at the age of 3 months old, I was adopted, and I was raised in Ontario. And I've been here now 8 years. This will be my second baptism today. I was baptized in the Catholic Church as an infant. Went to church every Sunday with my family, as much as I didn't want to, because it didn't interest me. There was no connection there, and there's a lot of things I didn't understand about church. It just, the Bible, I didn't understand the Bible and what it was saying, and it just, I was there. I was present, but I wasn't there. I was just, twiddling my thumbs and drawing on my pants, and that's about how I felt about church. And God, I always believed in God. Well, maybe not always. I did as a child because I was told to, and I had to, and it was almost that you were made to fear God. If you did not behave and you didn't do these things, you weren't going to heaven, and that's now I've learned that is not right. So I didn't know that God loved me. I didn't know that Jesus loved me, and it was never put that way in the Catholic Church. To me, it wasn't anyway. It was interpreted for me, and this is the way that I was to believe. And that was it. There's, you weren't allowed to ask questions, and I had lots of questions because I didn't understand, and I just wanted my answers or my questions answered, and was told the answers I didn't want to hear. So as I became a young adult, and looking back on my life, there was a lot of abuse in my life, a lot of mental and emotional abuse at the hands of my mother. Which is hard for me to talk about, but I need to.
I already have you booked for a Sunday morning service.
She, and so looking back at my life as a young adult, I thought, well, how can you let that happen to someone? And I was really angry with God for that, because he let me down. He let those things happen to me, and I became just lost, and I had no self-esteem, no self-confidence, and I just separated myself from everybody and everything, and just kind of, struggled through life. And I've struggled through life until a couple of months ago. Bad relationships, but I have two good, wonderful children. They're 24 and 21 years old, and they're awesome. So I must have did something right there. But so I've struggled through life. I've used drugs. I've drank alcohol, and was able to overcome those things on my own. And it's more the abuse that I went through as a child that plagues me. Nobody sees that. It's it's a silent struggle, and nobody sees it. But now I know people did see it and did nothing about it, so that made me even more angry. So I had a lot of anger in my heart, a lot of anger and a lot of unforgiveness. I've been able, in talking with Carson, we had to talk about forgiveness and how to forgive and what forgiveness is and means. And I was able to forgive a lot of people in my life. And that felt good to forgive them, because it only hurts yourself if you don't forgive. It makes you angry, it makes you bitter. And I didn't realize how angry and bitter I was until I really looked at myself. And forgiving my mother has been really hard. And I talked to Blake a little bit on Wednesday. I didn't tell him who, but I forgave her the other night in writing things down that I wanted to say today. And it felt good to forgive her. And I had to do it before I got baptized, because I couldn't be baptized with anger, that much anger in my heart. Back to a couple of months ago, my husband is not religious. My husband has never set foot in a church, other than a wedding or a funeral, but he has his own struggles, and that's his story to tell. I won't tell it. He couldn't make it today. He was cleaning out his garage yesterday. If you don't know my husband, he's 6'5", and some doorways are not as tall as him, so his head connected with the door pretty hard yesterday. So he's got a big goose egg, and he's kind of got a really big headache today. So I said, that's okay. You don't need to come. He knows my story. He's had to live it, the poor man. But so we were sitting, and it was just a wintry day, and he said, Shannon, I need something. Like, he's like, I'm going nowhere. My life is this, my life is that. And he goes, well, maybe I'll try church. And I said, sure, I'll recite Catholic Mass to you right here and now. So I did. And he's like, no. So we turned on YouTube, because with COVID, all the churches have their Mass on YouTube. So we went through the whole bunch of them, and he's like, no, too churchy, no. So he said, well, what about that other church there up by the Pink Palace? And I said, oh, the Baptist, that one that our friends of ours came to. And I said, yeah, that one, he liked it. So we turn it on, and I get it up there, and James goes, that's our neighbor. I went, I said, pardon? He goes, that's our neighbor. And I'm like, what, the homeless guy across the alley that lives in the garage? And he's like, yeah, that's him. And I was like, oh, insert foot into mouth now. So James was like, just let me get a coffee. And he sat down, and James was in tears in 5 minutes. And I was blown away. And I sat and I listened to Carson speak, and I thought, wow, I really, really like what he just said. Like, wow, I have never, ever heard the word from the Bible, the word of the Lord, affect me like that. Like, I connected with it. I thought, wow. Like, I was just, my head was just like, my mind was blown. So yeah, I did. About 2 weeks later, we watched on YouTube. We watched everything we could about the Westlock Baptist Church. Every day we watched, and it just started making sense to me. And like, he was directly speaking to me. I'm like, I did that. That's how I feel. And it made me feel like, wow, somebody knows what I'm going through. Somebody knows how I feel. This is great. And James was hooked, and he was so excited, and he was so nervous. And I said, well, we can just go to the church. We don't, you don't have to call and make an appointment or ask permission, I don't think. He's like, he goes, well, he lives right there. Like, just catch him when he's going. So I stalked Carson for a day. I was outside and my coffee, and I went, oh, there's his car. Run through and go to the back gate. And there I was, this crazy woman. So, but it did. It really changed both of our lives. And for me, I've never, ever had a sense that I belonged. I've never had a sense of belonging anywhere. I was always an outsider. Maybe that comes along with being adopted too, because you just don't quite feel you fit. But the moment I stepped foot inside here, I felt like I belonged. I felt I'm a part of something, and I belong here, and I felt welcomed, and people were interested to know my name and know who I was, and it just was like, whoa. And it was true, and it was honest. It wasn't, they weren't just being nice, Leslie. But, yeah, and no, I just forgot what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, and then the first, like I had said before, I had a lot of questions about God and the Bible as it was interpreted for me and as a child. And I had a lot of questions. I still have a lot of questions, Blake. I'll bring them up. But so the first, we came on the Sunday. I spoke to Carson that morning. He said, yeah, we're having a barbecue this afternoon. So we came to the barbecue. I had to put a bull ring in James's nose and drag him here, but I got him. And the next day we came and we sat down for the service here at 10, and wouldn't you know it, one of the biggest questions I've had, what is a Christian? Like, what is a Christian? Is it a religion? I didn't know. People always say they're a good Christian, they're a good Christian. Well, I've never really known what a Christian is. I just didn't know what it was, and nobody could answer that question for me if I asked. And no, how dare you question that? Well, I wasn't questioning it. Well, maybe I was. So I sit down and, well, wouldn't you know it, how to be a better Christian. Carson was speaking about, and I thought in like 2 minutes my question was answered. I thought, game on, Carson. Game on. You just answered a question I've had for 48 years that nobody could answer for me. And you just answered it. And I was just in awe. And I thought, wow, I really have to keep coming, because there's a lot of questions in my head that really need to get answered. And I learned that a Christian isn't a person. Well, I guess it is. It's not a title. It's not a religion. It's an action. It's a feeling. It's a behavior. And that's all I needed to know. And nobody could answer that till I sat down here. And every time I come, it's funny. I think Carson listens through my window, because every time I come, his service is about what I just read in the Bible, or what James and I had just been talking about the night before. It's kind of odd, but yeah. So I've developed this new relationship with God by coming here and learning through everybody here, learning through Carson, learning through Blake, And I like it. I really like this new relationship I've developed with God. And I feel him around me, and I see things now that, okay, that's maybe put there by him. And so, yeah, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to ride with it because I'm really enjoying it. It's brought a lot of peace to my life, which I have needed peace in my life. I've just kind of been there. I haven't been down there, and I've never been way up here, but I'm kind of inching up to there. So, yeah, I think that's about all I can say right now. Thanks.